So most welcome, everyone. So today, and I hope you can see the screen, we will have a short introduction to the webinar and the scope of the webinar, the intention with it, and then we will move to a presentation of the call itself that is being organized by Eureka, Xecs cluster. After that, we will go in the second part to the national funding opportunities in Sweden by Vinnova, also smarter electronic systems with a strategic program in Sweden, supporting the work to promote the activities around electronic components and systems. We will also have a sharing from an SME about the experience being in the program. And then after that, we will have a break and we will move to the third part, which is much more practical about the project zone, which is a practical platform for the submission of applications, but also the other tools that are available for you to develop your project here, to collaborate and make sure that your proposal idea at the end is in line with your intention or also well integrated in the environment of that program. So in order for all of us to have a nice experience, as we are all being present here remotely, so we'd like to make sure that you can turn your microphone and video off if you don't present anything. Use the chat function as well as much as possible to address questions, even comments. And during the Q&A, because there will be 2 Q&As in part 2 of this webinar and also in part 3. So make use of the function, the chat function, to address a question. This will allow us to have a nice sequence with questions and responses. And also the question will be repeated by the moderator. So, and the response will be provided by one of the presenters. If not, responses will be provided later on in case a question cannot be responded directly. So important functions here, as you are used to that normally with the mute, unmute, the video, also the chat, and then the rename. We would like you to make sure that your name is correct as well. So this will facilitate the communication between us. So what is the intention here? We all talk about innovation today, and Vinnova is used to addressing it now is more important than ever. And is really a challenge and also an ambition to really make innovation possible. And it's very much about global cooperation. It is very crucial, not only for Sweden, but many countries, and we observe that more and more, and that also we like to make sure that it contributes to a sustainable development, a future for future generations. 3 keywords for Vinnova, and it's about identifying what is really making possible a better future, a sustainable future, and to mobilize, make sure that we bring resources together so that we can, at a point of time, select the best projects, the most valuable projects, and fund those projects for them to have the effects that we expect them to have in the long run. So that's the intention of this webinar. And we like to include you as much as possible. It's why we address these 2 questions as a check-in. So it's about knowing whether you know about Eureka and Xecs program, and also if you know about the Swedish funding opportunities. I would like to share your responses. It's more kind of statistics, but it will give us a sense of what you would expect somehow, and we'll go more concretely to your questions later on. So maybe Adela, I'd like you to share maybe your screen
and see if we receive some responses here.
Yes, we can give some extra minutes, but I will take over, Frederic, so that I can show the screen.
So at the same time, I can inform you, which I did not do before. This webinar is being organized by Vinnova, by Eureka and the cluster Xecs, and the national program SIP, SAS, which stands for Smarter Electronic Systems. So thank you, Adela. We see your screen now. So on the first question, do you know about Eureka and Xecs? So so that's interesting that most responses are yes, but you need to know more, which is great, which is the intention of that webinar. So just continue coming in and providing responses. But the trend is quite clear. So maybe to the next question, which is also interesting to look at, and so we see what your expectations are. Somehow. Yes, that's also an important response, to say that yes, you know about the funding opportunities, but you'd like to know more, which we are going to make sure that we can inform you about during this webinar. So thank you very much, Adela. Continue just filling in, and we will, of course, include those slides in the material that we'll share with you after this webinar.
And I give back to you, Frederic.
Thank you.
So.
So back to the main presentation material, and now we go to the first part of this webinar with the presentation of the call itself, Eureka Xecs Call 2022. And I'm pleased to welcome Sherazad from Xecs Cluster. So the floor is yours, Sherazad, and I will support you to go through your material.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Frederic. So firstly, good morning and welcome to all of you. And as shown by Adela and Frederic, I'm pleased that you are the majority of you, the participants, aware about the Xecs and Eureka programs, but you need to know more. So I hope that this the webinar of today can reply to some of your questions or interrogation and show your participation in our first call of Xecs. So firstly, also, I will just introduce myself. I'm Sherazad Azizi. I'm working for INEAS organization, which is operating the Xecs program. I'm directly from the team that support and help all the participants through our calls. So maybe we can start with this first question of what is a cluster in general. So a cluster, a Eureka cluster is supporting, as it is the topic of today, supporting the RD&I in the field of the electronic components and systems. So Xecs is managed and operated by INEAS. So it's an industrial association. We represent the industry towards, and we discuss with the public authorities. I will give maybe a slight deeper view in the second part of the webinar of today of what is the purpose and what we are doing also in INEAS to support the industry and especially the SMEs. But to give you two main ideas of what is the purpose of INEAS is to have complementary activities within the Excel and KDTI joint undertaking. We have a lot of experiences of managing programs. We were handling Catherine which has its program we close, and we are still running 2 other program, Euripides and Penta. We are supported by other associations, and we work closely with some of these association can be maybe familiar to you. It's EPOS and Inside. And our purpose is to work closely and to cooperate with the public authorities to perform transnational R&D programs and projects. Next slide, please, Frédéric.
So I don't see any slides. Do you, the rest of you do?
Maybe there is a, do you see now?
I'm sharing them.
Yes, I see them all the time.
Okay, then it's my problem.
Okay, we are in the slide of going a bit deeper, trying to have a view of general view and going inside. And now I would like to introduce Eureka. What is Eureka? Maybe some of you already know. It's the biggest public network for international cooperation for RD&I. Represented 45 countries, mostly in Europe, but not only. It's composed also by associated countries like Canada, Israel, Singapore. This is an intergovernmental organization, specifically for market-driven industrial projects, and it's aiming to have an impact on and to be more competitive for European industry. And the aim is to facilitate the transnational network between for the innovation of the industrial European companies. Next slide, please. So how is placed Xecs in this funding landscape? So you can see in this slide that you may be familiar with national programs, and Eureka and specifically Xecs is a program that it's in between. It's what we call a transnational program, because when you are part of such a program, you are funded by your national governmental, but you are part of an international project, which is a bit a difference with Horizon Europe, that you can see it's directly financed by the European Commission. So next slide, please. In this slide, we would like to introduce to you, and maybe you can refer to this document. It's in Xecs what it's I would say the heart of the challenges of the project that we are dealing in Xecs. This is, would say, the Bible of our experts. This electronic components RIA domains, which is a very large book. You can upload this reference in our website, and also in the 2 other websites of the association. It's one of the common works that we are handling in INS with 2 other associations, so EPOS and Inside. This is a Bible for that it's used for Xecs, but also for Excel projects. You can find all the different domains and applications that has been released, and it's a common work with more than 250 experts. So you can have a look to this large document. Then next slide. So now, why Xecs? What is the purpose and the aim of Xecs? So as already I defined it, it's an electronic components and system organism or program that should help you to be able to create collaborative innovation. By joining Xecs, you will be part of an ecosystem. You can build RD&I consortium. In Xecs, you can manage collaborative projects. You can access national RD&I funding, and last but not least, the purpose is for you as a participant to generate high economic impact in your environment. Next, please. So why participate to such a program? You can take advantage of the transnational RD&I cooperation by being a part of an ecosystem. You can benefit for diverse and multiple partnership opportunities from the XCCS community, which we enhance and we reinforce. You can increase not only your national but international visibility as you are participating to an international project. You can stimulate also disruptive ideas. Next, please, to follow and continue what are the benefits of participating to XCCS. You can lead or even only be a part of an industrial-led project, which give you opportunities to meet with other partners, and not only partners from if you are a company for the same shape of your company, because the project the partners are coming from the industry, but also from the research, and universities are also participating to such program. You can access to expertise and get guidance from the expert that belongs to XCCS, and also from the team that I'm belonging, to give you some insight to help you in the dissemination of your project. You can boost your competitiveness, accelerate your growth, and the last but not least, to shorten the time to market. That is one of the purpose of this kind of project. So how XCCS work now? So this is blocks of a little bit like steps from the project ideas that you may have, you may create, or you want to join. So for that, you participate to some brokerage. I will present our next brokerage, and I will invite you to participate. During this brokerage, and also during all the timing of this construction of project, you build your consortium to go through the first step of submission of the XCCS timeline, which is project outline submission. The second block of the submission is to define that under a call, and it's currently we have a call open. I will show you later on the timeline of our current call. You have a two-step review to which you submit a first PO. You get an evaluation. If your evaluation is successfully positive, you can enter to the full project proposal submission, which ends to the labeling and funding decision, which is a common decision that is being taken during a common meeting with your national public authorities and the XCCS team. Then we enter to this phase of monitoring a project. So you have a change request process which help you, in fact, to adjust your project with respect to the funding national contracts. You enter to this start of the project, and we help you. We are a dedicated team that help you also going through these phases. In order to remain in close link, and as you are getting some national funding, we have this duty to monitor your project and to help you as much as possible to disseminate it successfully, and to have a final review to hand it, and to get some impact afterwards. So next, please. So now I'm showing you what I've introduced, the brokerage event. So we are organizing for XCCS first call, the XCCS brokerage event next week. Unfortunately, again, due to COVID, it will be an online event. But I really encourage you, if you want to know more about this first call of XCCS, if you have already an idea and you want to join, and you are looking for some additional partners for some capabilities, I really invite you to follow the link in order to participate to this 2 days event. And in the next slide, I'm showing the call timeline of this call. So as some of you may know that we have launched Xecs in the last September. So it was the start for all the participants to generate their project ideas, to work, to find some the best partners to aim for their projects. We had this first event, which may ring a bell, which is Xecs. It's one of our big yearly events that we organize. INEAS is organizing with the European Commission and in partnership also with national countries. So during this event, you had also the opportunity to continue building your consortium. And now we are finalizing, and it's what I present just before. It was a Xecs Brokerage, which is a dedicated event to our Xecs first call, aiming that you are able to submit your PO for a deadline which is set up the 25th February 2022. And after, when you evaluate our PO by our experts and by the national evaluation to be able to give you positive feedback to go to the FPP submission to aim for a funding and labeling decision in September 2022. So now you may ask yourself what could be a typical Xecs project, how it looks like to build and to help you to build a project. And I would like to underline already that they are general numbers. What we would like is that when you build your project, you build your project with respect to what is the best capabilities that you aim for your project. That is the main idea. But usually we have projects that they contain from 4 to 50 participants. It's usually a mix between SMEs, large group, research institute, and universities. One of the rules under Eureka is to have minimum of 2 countries participating in this international project. But we recommend that to enhance your chance to be funded to have more than 2 countries, and our minimum would be 3. Give you higher chances at the end to have a fund and to be able to be labeled and to receive funding. So what you have to check when you are building your projects, it's what I underlined at the beginning of my presentation, that to define in which challenges are you belonging for your project. So to use the Xecs value chain. And the average of the cost of our projects for a duration of 3 years, it's to have from 2 to 30 million of euros. But again, these are general figures, and don't constrain yourself with figures. Try to build your project with the aim that what is the best for your project to enhance your chances. Next, please. So now we show you what are the countries which are committed to support the Xecs first call. So you can see that Sweden, we are working closely with Sweden. So we are close commitment of, and Frédéric and Adela will go through a little bit more regarding the national funding after my presentation. But the meaning of this map with countries is if you intend to ask another country to join, which is not represented in this slide, please do not constrain yourself by saying it's not supported. We have also some discussion, for example, for France, which is not represented in this slide, and you can have another funding through a national or a regional funding provided by France, which allow you to be part of this international project. So our main, the main idea is to, as you are building your project, it's to contact your national public authority as when you are really shaping your project, and as early as possible in your construction of your project. So to give you also now an idea of what the project that we are now monitoring. So this example, it's Euripides project, sorry, RR2 SP4 SPI is a project which represented by 5 partners in 2 countries. It's a bottom-up approach. It's an example of one project that was handled by ANEAS when we operate Euripides. When we took over this project in our monitoring, we give the expertise of our experts, which you can see that there is a quote from the project leader. So the added value is that we worked to have more structured reporting and monitoring. So in order for them to have a better structured project. So for that, last year, we organized follow-up activities with the consortia. We help the project to disseminate and promote towards website, toward articles, but we invite them also to participate to the last Xecs event in order to raise interest and to be able for them to be more visible for the ECCS community. And also, as they are planning now to do a follow-up, it was a good opportunity for them to show up their results. For this second project, which is a pure Penta project, this is an interesting project that I wanted to show you because it's led by a spin-out startup, which is not regular because and it's to show you that not all the project can be led by only large group. SMEs also are very much welcome, as we are a dedicated team to help you. So we try to also give you as much as the support we can to facilitate your communication with your national public authorities, to help also the visibility, to help technically also your project, to give you advice, as we have some experts that they evaluate your project and we give detailed feedback to the consortium to help them really to enhance their project. And this is very interesting for this project because it includes big players such as Infineon, Fraunhofer, and Signify. So you can see in this example that you can be a spin-out company and have in your consortium really large groups. So now, how I would say, I won't go too much in details for this slide because I try to keep my time up, and it's something that I can also go deeper in the second part of the presentation when we will talk about the project zone itself, and I will make a presentation on how to submit a successful proposal to help you to better shape your project. But these are like I would say kind of tip for you to keep in mind that maybe some they are quite straightforward, but it's I think always good to remind them that when you build up your project, you have to really well define your problem statement, to be clear, to don't forget that you have to convince experts, you have to convince national authority, and so you have to be clear in your proposal. You have to explain how defining and extending the state of the art to show the innovation of your project, to convince that your project is worth it to be funded. Also, as it's more and more important, you have this value chain ecosystem that you have to explain clearly how the partners they complement in your project and how you position yourself in the XCCS value chain. And not last, which is quite important, that we are trying to enhance and help you, because it's something that we have seen as a weakness part in the proposal. It's to show the commercial and other impacts, not only commercial ones, but how and who will commercialize the solution that you create. The next, please, this second slide, it's also to underline that you have to be really careful on meeting national criteria. That's why we, in our talk, we always ask you to communicate, to contact your national funding body, to check your eligibility before starting working and going too deep in your project. For each country, which is national, you have to describe the national impact and the benefits for each country involved in the project. As sustainability is more and more important, you have also to demonstrate in your proposal how you face it. And you have also to show your ambition, because you are asking for money. You have to show enough ambition in your proposal to make to convince that your solution is unique. But if you come with ambition, you have also not to hide and to be able to explain what risk you are facing and how you will handle these risks. So this is ending this first part of the presentation. I would like just to remind you that we have a PO deadline, which is expected in like roughly a little bit more than 1 month. So I hope that you will be able to already with this general presentation that I have answered to some of your questions. I remain available today and with the team. So in the next slide, we show that we can still follow us in the social media. So please, if you want to have our latest information and to follow the calls and our newsletter and what we are doing for projects, so please follow us. And in the last slide, I'm showing that we are a dedicating team for you, and that we are working for the industry, try to help you to facilitate the submission of the project. So, and we are here, in fact, to help. That's the main message. So thank you very much for your attention, and I will remain available for the Q&A session. So thank you, Frederic, back to you.
Thank you so much, Sherazad, for a very clear presentation and with so much information. As said, the information will be made available to you, and also the coming slides will be shared with you. So as it is, we're running a bit out of time. I'll try to speed up, but still being very clear to also prioritize your questions as well, because they are very important, and we want to support you already from today and moving forward as well when you prepare your project ideas. So moving to the national funding opportunities. So, and the first question is, what can you apply for? So as said, international cooperation projects with actors along the entire chain for innovative electronic systems. So that was well presented by Sherazad, and the focus is really on different types of solutions, so to sensors, power electronics platforms, system integration, and then embedded systems that we see more and more, and the product integration in electronics generally. And the solutions that we want to see are the ones driving sustainable digital transformation. And we see more and more that digital transformation is naturally part of that transformation with electronic components and systems. And of course, to threaten competitiveness in the area covered by Eureka Xecs, as Sweden decided to be part of this program. What do we assess? We assess the Swedish consortium, and it should be industry driven. And we like to see a good balance between different actors, the ones that were presented previously, large companies, but also small and medium-sized enterprises that can be also leading projects, and that we observe that it is happening more and more as well, that small actors are taking the lead. And of course, research institutes and in general academia and universities. What is important is that the effort from the participating companies is at least 60% of the Swedish consortium total work effort. As said, this is industry driven, and we like to see that type of participation in projects. For small and medium-sized enterprises, as it is a bottom-up process, they are very important, and we have some requirements, some prerequisites to make sure that the project can be executed while the company is still growing on the side. So we like to see that there is at least 1 million Swedish crowns in net sales according to the latest annual report. And also that the number of employees that corresponds to at least 3 full-time equivalents. So it's kind of stability that we like to see as a minimum requirement. Then how large grants can be. So typically we finance projects between 5 and 15 million crowns. We have funding rates for different type of actors. For SME, 50%, for large enterprises, 30%, and 100% for research institutes and universities, because it is a research and innovation program, and we like to create that balance and giving chances to all actors to learn and grow. And that's the purpose of it, is to create value, really, within the value chain that is going to create possibilities for business development and for organizations to grow. The maximum funding from Vinnova is 50% of the total budget of the eligible cost for all the participating Swedish organizations. This is specified in the call itself, and you can use the link which is on the right here to access information about the call itself, and then there are further links there where you can have details about the conditions to apply for funding in Sweden. So that is for the funding part in the Xecs. I'm responsible for this cluster. I'm also responsible for the Eureka cluster program itself, representing Sweden in the work. And together with me, Adela, who has even a larger scope of work in that area. And I will, with this, give the floor to Adela to continue with the next slides. Thank you.
Thank you, Frederick. We just want to take the opportunity to give you information about the new partnership program. So that started at the end of last year. So I will give you just a short introduction to the new European partnership program on electronic components and systems, and the programs for its calls. So key digital technology joint undertaking is the new institutionalized partnership program within Horizon Europe. That's going to continue the work that has been done in Excel. That was the previous partnership program, but it has a much wider scope than Excel had. The program has the focus on ECS to strengthen Europe's competence and competitiveness in this area. The program was launched at the very end of November, and the first call was launched on the 16th of December, as I hope you got information about previously. So the budget from the European Commission is much larger than the budget for Excel was. And the participating states are supposed or are expected to match that budget along the program lifetime. So the first calls, we have the call 2021 that has 2 innovation action calls. There are 2 research innovation action calls and 1 CSA call that's only funded by the European Commission, is a special topic. So I really encourage you to look into the information. There is a lot of information both at the Vinnova homepage and also at the program homepage. The total budget for those first calls is 28 million from the European Commission, and up to now the participant states are putting 162 million euros in those calls. So look into more information. We will get this presentation afterwards. The links are embedded in the presentations. Very important to read the work program 2021. And as Sherazad was pointing out, it's very important to look into the Strategic Research Innovation Agenda 2021. Those calls are also based on that one. And a heads up for the calls 2022 for KDT that will be open May, June this year, so that you know that unfortunately we had 2 very close calls. So next slide, Frederic. Thank you. Yes, and we also would like to give you an overview of the other national funding opportunities in the electronic components and systems area. So Vinnova has 17 strategic innovation programs. You see 4 of them listed in these slides. So we have this smarter electronic systems. You have we call PIA, Meditech for Health, and Geographen. Those 4 have different opportunities because the application areas are quite wide and different in the area of electronic components and systems. In addition to the SIPs, as we call them, we have 2 large national programs driven in cooperation with the Swedish industry. We have the FFI, that's Strategic Vehicle Research Innovation Program. We have another large program that started last year on advanced digitalization. And internationally, Vinnova is founding, as we just talked about, KDT, the Eureka network with the Eureka clusters. Here we see the Xecs, even Eurostars. And we also give support to Swedish organizations to prepare themselves to participate in the different calls within Horizon Europe. So that's like in total the whole landscape. And now I would like to give the floor to Smart Electronic System that's going to talk about their work and the support they can offer to the Swedish organizations in the European area. So.
Thank you, Adela. So my name is Torbjörn Eberfors, Toby, and I'm working as the Deputy Program Manager at our program office. And I'm working together with Magnus Svensson, that is also here moderating the Q&A. So if there are questions, please add them to the chat and Magnus will take care of them afterwards. And my responsibilities is to strengthen the internationalization activities from the project portfolio that we have in our program. So next slide, please. So our mission is to strengthen the participation in internationally and especially European funded projects and promote our project that we have on national Swedish level to go international. So today we have close to 200 projects that has been ended or running and more than 500 applications and like 300 industry partners in Sweden. And we try to help them to go international. And we also collaborate with sister organizations like ourselves in other countries. Next slide, please. So our tools, we have a yearly budget from Vinnova around 45 million SEK. And that one we are running the program office with me, Magnus, Therese, and some others. And we also manage strategic projects, which is typically 15% of the budget, and that's include our strategic research agenda, the roadmaps, and we have a project in printed electronics and also a smart electronics handbook, as well as study material for young students at the high school. And we yearly have 2 calls on the national. One is for pre-studies in September, open in June and closing in September, typically 3 to 4, some years 5 million SEK. And then now next week we will open the 2022 call on for bigger innovation projects, which has a budget of around 35 million SEK. This year slightly less. So that is our activities. And on the international arena, we have been focused on this since 2018. So we have built up an international network, and we are the link between the national ecosystem with the other SIPs and the partners and projects on the national level, and linking them to the correct projects on the international arena, which could be both the Eureka or the KDT joint undertake or some other joint undertakes as well as the Horizon Europe projects and possibilities. Next. And then, as we said, we are typically organizing Swedish Booth to bring SMEs when we have a brokerage event that's our physical. It was supposed to be next week in Brussels, but that is changed to an online meeting due to the situation with the pandemic. But normally, pre-COVID, we were having a industry delegation to the brokerage events, which is FX and the ECS brokerage event. So I encourage everyone to join this brokerage event, and we could be support if you need to use our network to find international partners. Next. This is just an overview of all the projects. We have more than 300 organizations in our portfolio that we have contacts with. So if you need a special company on Swedish level, large enterprise research organization, or as an SME, we could provide links to them. We have good insight what they are doing. Next. One more. And we have also set up competence hubs in 7 different key areas, and we have some key experts in each of these fields that could be advisory if you need, for example, in ASIC or photonics. We have partners that could help bringing the networking to the Swedish ecosystem if you need to find partners for building an XCCS consortium. Next. On our international sister organization, so SES, Smart Electronic System, we are the mirror group, Excel mirror group of Sweden. It will be changed probably to KDT mirror groups, and especially we are working with Turkey and Germany, but especially Italy and Austria. Next, in the 2 weeks, we will be, sorry, please keep it. So we will have Excel Italy Day in a brokerage in Italy in 2 weeks. So if you are interested to find partners in Italy for KDT, but not for XCCS with Italy, you could contact me. And we're also working with Photonics Sweden. And recently in last year, we have together with Business Sweden set up for the semiconductor industry Swedish alliance that you could follow, which could also do some international activities and helping out with sister organization around the globe. Next. So you could follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube and subscribe our newsletter. You have our webpage there, and in the chat function in the morning, I added my email address, so you could contact me by email if there are further questions or you need support. Thank you.
Thank you, Torbjörn. And so Adela, the floor is yours for the next.
Yes, so we invited Direct Conversion. That's a Swedish company participated in Excel Eureka. It was not XCCS yet. It was the last call the year before. So fault analysis 4.0 is a very important project for us. We see that Sweden has a very good participation and contribution to that project. And we invited Jens Sjödahl from Direct Conversion to talk about their experience and how is it participating in Eureka cluster program project, and what has been the best with that cooperation, if he can share with us their experience. So thank you, Jens, the floor is yours.
It helps if I unmute. So, hello everybody. I don't know if you can see me or hear me.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, good. No, so from Direct Conversion, so a short summary about us. So basically a long history in photon counting development, coming back almost 20 years and then merging with smaller companies, finding a way in the industry, in different industries, and also collaborating with other SMEs and technical clusters. That was the start of it. And one of the major sort of collaborating parties from our side when we was actually a customer of ours named Exilum. They make sources for X-ray. We make detectors for X-ray. And we realized that we need to come out of this in a more structured way towards the bigger potential customers, and also collaborate with other industrial parties, but also universities to bring our solutions together, and also build a network. And through there, we connected to this project. And to summarize, we learned a lot. I mean, the main thing is we got funded to do development that we would not do if it wasn't funded, at least partly. So that was number one. But the number two, and I would like to stress that, is also the connection building between other companies, big and small, everything from potential future customers to collaborators or to complementary technology. So to mention a few, we have in that project, we have a Swedish company, Ericsson, major component manufacturer for certain technologies, and also Bosch is in there. We have ST, and it's just a fantastic platform to be in with all the connections. So that's sort of the summary of what I feel about the project personally. And then a little bit of learnings. So I come from a history where we looked at funding opportunities within the EU, also in the past, and I found this structure with the EU funding mechanisms through Vinnova, also through research centers in Sweden, working extremely well. One of the big things when entering into a project like this is, as an SME, you would normally think, do we have the bandwidth? Do we have the capacity to run and do all the reporting necessary and participate in all these meetings, not slowing us down for other stuff that we want to do? And that was a major concern of ours. But now, a year and a half, almost 2 years into the project, even with COVID around, I must say that the organization and the reporting structure, the efficiency of the meetings, it was much easier than we could imagine. So it really is something that I will stress for, especially for SMEs who might think, oh, this is just going to be a distraction. It's going to take a lot of time from us. But I would really encourage you guys to go forward and find a funding opportunity within there because of all the learnings. Questions, if any? Otherwise, I could talk a little bit about other findings.
So anyone who would like to ask Jens from Direct Conversion any questions about how it is to be an SME in this landscape? And I can just thank you very much, Jens. It's, I think, very important to get some feedback from the SMEs. And we really believe this is the right instrument. We see that many other companies are finding their way within the Eureka network, and we are very pleased to see that that has been, many of them are giving that feedback that is worth the to take that chance.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say, I mean, funding is extremely important, but funding which also provides a network to grow and find, as I said, collaborating partners, potential customers. That's something to build for in the future. And that's sort of the trampoline effect of the funding mechanisms will get you to do your project. But then what? Who do you work with in the market and all of that stuff? That's so important. And I think that's, I would actually stress that as number one, of the importance of the project. And then, as I said, the streamline of the project, how it works with the reporting structure and all of that, super efficient.
Thank you. So, Frederick, I give back to you.
Yes, and thank you very much to all of you for this very valuable sharing and this information that has been shared so far through different presentations. Very rich. It's 5 to 11. We're just running a bit out of time, but it shows as well that everything that has been shared and so on is really of importance. What I'd like to suggest now is that we can cover some of the questions that are being addressed, and at the same time consider that where we'll have a break and more or less at the same time, if you'd like to take a coffee or whatever. Anyway, the responses will be provided later on as well through the chat or more formally after this meeting. So Sheresad and Magnus, is there any specific question that you feel could be addressed now?
We don't have any specific questions in the chat. So
I got one private question from Jan. It may be available for everyone. It's about should one include all of SMEs, large company, research institute, and academia, or could you leave one of these out and just have industry partners? That was the question.
Good question.
Maybe Adela could answer for the Swedish rules. Is it mandatory to have also academia or research institutes involved in the project, or could it be only industry-driven Swedish consortia?
So, Frederick, you can take. Have you heard? Do you want to answer? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as presented earlier, we need at least 60% of efforts from the industry. We value very much the involvement of research institutes and universities, in the sense that we evaluate the effect of the project itself, which is very much about as well a way to spread information, to spread the results, to create a value chain out of it. And I think the previous sharing was interesting as well, to see how the cooperations is being organized. There is a need for collaboration, and so as we talk about innovation, research, innovation, and we need also to consider, okay, what type of resources we need in the future. So we need also to involve those actors to prepare new resources, to have new competencies in the market, and that's why we value very much the involvement of research institutes and universities.
But it's not mandatory to have both institute and university in the project.
No,
it's a benefit, but not mandatory.
No, but when we evaluate projects, we compare, and it's also competition. If there are 10 project proposals being evaluated, and then at the point of time, there will be, of course, comparisons made, of course, to select the best projects that will create the most strategic effect, so to say. But it's not mandatory.
Okay.
Is there any other question?
No.
Maybe not. So if not, I'd like to, instead of 5 minutes, maybe we can take just 2 minutes, if you need 2 minutes, just to take a coffee and
stretch your legs. Yes.
And then it's 11 o'clock. I'd like to suggest that we start at in about 2-3 minutes, and we'll continue with the part 3 of this
webinar, which will be focusing very much on the project zone and the events that are being organized and the tools. So thank you so much, and see you soon. So welcome back, and before we continue with you, Sherazad, I'd like to make sure that we have sufficient time at the end of this webinar as well for potential questions. So my suggestion, Sherazad, is that instead of the 30 minutes we had planned, we could maybe try to manage it in about 25 minutes maximum.
Yes. Yeah. I will. Yeah, it's possible. I looked through back the slides, and in fact, I have already some that I've already developed. So I will be quicker on that.
Great. Thank you so much, and the floor is yours then.
Okay. So, so maybe you can show us the first slide. I'm not seeing the first slide of the presentation. The main.
Do you see?
I'm still in. I don't know for the other one. I'm still in the Q&A slide.
That's interesting because I'm on the. It seems that there are two windows open strangely. Oh, that's amazing. I'm sharing the material, and I'm on your slide. Let me,
yeah, we are
sharing and sharing again.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be an issue with the sharing, and let me now maybe. There we go.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes, that's good. Thank you, Frédéric. So I would like to go now a little bit deeper on how to prepare a successful proposal. So we can go quite quick on the first slide because as it has been already presented also by Toby, there is this Xecs Brokerage Event next week, so we can go further. I would like just to show you the ECS, sorry, the ECS collaboration tool. It's a tool and a system that we invite you to logging. It's the tool that is used to present your ID, to share your IDs, and to look for some partners. And I would like to point out that it's a different tool than the one that we are using for the project zone, for the Xecs project zone that I will present a little bit further. So next slide. So it's just please copy. You will receive the material as already underlined by Frédéric, but you can find the link. So how it looks like this system. So you have a general page which invites you to select what you are looking for. If you want to create an ID, if you want to look for a partner, if you want to look to other project IDs and you would like to join already because you are not aiming at leading a project. And you have also a message board when you can leave some message possibly to partners or for project IDs. So next slide, you have one of the page how the project IDs looks like. You have at the right side of the screen the challenges. It's what we have already mentioned, which are defined in the SRIA. So, and you can select after which ID you would like to look at, for example. So in the next slide, you can see you have some summaries. So in the next slide, please, Frédéric, if you are able to go to this look for other project IDs. I would like to show you how it looks like, for example, if you have selected FX 2021 pre-brokerage event. That was an example of last year. You have this this button where you can request to join the ID. You have also the contact, and you can reach the person that has developed or and also inform on this ID. You can see that, for example, for this project ID, they are looking for partners. At the left side of the picture of the contact, you are looking for partners needed, expertise, etc. So that's also interesting for you to look at and to if you would like to join. In the next slide, you can also use this tool to search partner. You can search not only by event, you can search by organization type, you can search also by country, and you have people that they are already in, who have registered, and you can make contact directly with them. So that's why we invite you to really to create your own contact, also to be contacted and to inform on your expertise, to be able to enlarge your impact in the tool. In the next slide, we show the message board that I have introduced in the first slide. So you can look for IDs or look for partners and invite to contact you, for example. So I will go quite quick on this because the tool is quite straightforward. So I invite you to play, and if you have any question, you can still reach and contact us if you are facing some issue on doing some request. In the next slide, you have the program of the XCCS Brokerage Event, which is now virtual. And we are just underlying that this event is free for the INS member, and you have to register to be able to attend this event. Then I introduced in my, I talked a little bit at the beginning about, in the next slide, I am developing a little bit more what is INEAS Association. So it's an industrial association which is, we are representing the ECCS community, the value chain. So we have members from large industries, SMEs, research institute, academia, and associate member organization also that they be part of our association. So as underlined, we fostering RD&I, we create an effective funding landscape. So we try to develop the digital economy in Europe by maintaining a competitive position, supporting the societal goals through the project and through also our discussion with the European Commission. We support action like promoting the networking. We encourage collaborative consortia work through our different programs, and we facilitate the access to funding support through our connection with the national public authorities. So I invite you, if you want to know more, to visit our website, which is at in the right side of the slide in the box. Then next slide it's just the virtual circle of being part of an INEAS member, that becoming an ISN member, to have to join the network. So I will go quite quick on that because I already mentioned it at the beginning. So we do some cross-fertilization. We have some bunch of experts from the large group, which are large group SMEs and organization that belong to our association. So we organize with other organizations some important event for the community to be able to build the community and to reinforce the visibility of the industry. We shape because we organize, we work on we are part of the ECCS RIA, as it has been several times mentioned during this webinar. We influence because we participate to meetings and to position papers with the regional public authorities and the European Commission and at the Parliament. So we try to create partnership between consortia, international partnership. We participate in co-creation of few projects. We are helping you to have funding through different instruments, and we refund project with INEAS support. And at the end of this virtual circle, we enhance to have an economic impact on your activities to accelerate your time and your position, your company to market, and also in parallel to solve societal and to address economical challenges. In the next slide, and it's one of the core that is handled by INEAS. We have a dedicated INEAS SMEs member. To be part of his INEAS SMEs member, it's free of charge. So you can, by joining, you can have access to other SMEs which are belonging to Europe. And we work on several meetings and challenges on this, on the more dedicated to SMEs. In the next slide, try to be more specific because it's one of the questions that is asked when you are part of a project. It's how INEAS works with the XCCS program. So there is no obligation to be part of INEAS to join a project or to build a project. You can sign what we call a DOA when you are part of a project. It's a DOA, it means a declaration of acceptance. This is more specifically when you want to be part of a project through the landscape and the shape of XCCS. But if you are a member, you don't need to sign this paper. Regarding the project fees, as I mentioned, INEAS, it's an association, so we don't do benefit. So what we ask is when you are belonging to a funding running project, we ask for an amount, a percentage of the public grant. In the past 2 years, this percentage has been defined and agreed among the board as 1.7% of the rate, which has been defined and it's available in our website, as we have the INEAS our booklet about the association, but also the internal regulation that we belongs to. So it's independent of the fact to be member or not, because these fees are calculated to be able that the staff of INEAS give you support, and in the organization of the event that we are participating, all our projects, they are consolidated to be able to live with this amount when you are belonging to a funded running project. So as I mentioned, and this is done at the FPP stage, so we won't ask you to become a member at the PO or to sign a DOA. It's only at the second stage of the process that we will ask you to either, and this is a mandatory point, to be either a member or to, if you don't want to join, to sign a declaration of acceptance. These papers and templates, they are available in our website, in the INEAS website. For more information about the membership in INEAS, there is no fixed member fees. So basically it's free of charge. You have access to different information through the association. You have a voting right in the General Assembly. And as already mentioned several times, you benefit from the visibility for the networking and you are part of the community. Then in the next slides, which I've already developed, so I won't go through again. It's just a message that I wanted really to enforce today. It's that you really have to work on your proposal to be the most efficient and to build something successful, to give you the better chances to be funded by your national public authorities. So I will go, we can squeeze this slide and the second one, Frédéric. To go more into details to how to submit your proposal, which is the last part of this presentation. So I will try to be quick on that. So the proposal submission, the project submission, is go through a system which is called the Xecs project zone. So you have the link of how to access. So you should firstly obviously register to this project zone. And for your submission through the Xecs first call, you have two complementary channels to provide your information. So directly using this system to create your project. And you have also access to two documents at the PO stage, which is the project outline annex, which is a Word document on which you have to describe your project. You also have to provide the Excel cost, which is some details per country about the cost of your project. Obviously, the sooner you start, the sooner the better is for your proposal, because you get more time to familiarize yourself with the system. The sooner as well you contact your national funding bodies, the better it is, because you reach what is the criteria of eligibility, and if your project is matching this criteria, to go further in the shape of your project. In the next slide, we would like to reinforce that when you write your proposal, to be aware of your audiences. You have audiences when you are shaping your project. You have the technical experts that they will review, that they are experts from INEAS group, that they will review your project. So they will focus on the impact, the quality, and the viability of your project as a whole, as an international project. So some key points: it's extending the state of the art, to have clear goals, to describe clear goals and objectives, to show the complementarity from the consortia, from the different partners in the project, to select appropriate consortium, appropriate partners in your consortium, and to have a proposal that targets, it's reachable to a well-organized project and well-structured project, and to be relevant, as we have several times mentioned, in the Xecs program focus area, which is described in the Xecs RIA. You have also to keep in mind that you will go through per country a national review that will focus specifically on the national participants. So you have to be really careful on the eligible criteria, and you have to address in the partners of each country clearly what is your goals, and replying to in the national way that has been described in the international part above. Then to submit a PO itself, in the next slide, you will refer to an annex. In this annex, it's a Word document that you can download. In the next slide, we give you some general remarks. We can be some tips if you want. We advise you to really read the guidance text. In this template, you have some green parts which is guiding you and explaining you what we expect in each part of the proposal. If you don't understand or you are not sure of what to reply, please, at the early stage, You will find in this presentation our email address. Ask the office, ask us, and we will be pleased to get back to you and to help you to be more consistent as possible. Also, some key points, and we are referring to the past programs and some question, and always the same sometimes that they were coming back. It's that you respect the page limits, to don't go through beyond them, to keep in mind that you have experts that they receive more than one proposal than they have to review, and that focus on the quality and not the quantity. Also to help you to have a less, more condensed document, to be able to use pictures that can be really useful, explaining what you would like to target, for example. And also to check for the correctness of the language. The English is the language that we use for the proposal. So sometimes make it harder for the evaluator if you are not using a proper English. So in the next slide, you have, it's a draft of, it's a table of contents of what you find in the Word document. So description, rationale of project, the targeted impact, market consortium, market access, the contribution to sustainability. As mentioned at the beginning, it's something that's more and more important, and we ask you. In the technology, we are asking you for the state-of-the-art analysis to summarize the technological innovation and novelty of your project related to the state-of-the-art, to also explain the expected project outputs of your project, and to summarize also the project objective. Then I will show you how to register to the project zone, to this second complementary channel that you have to use to submit your proposal. So it's quite straightforward. When you use the link, you have just to register, and please to be careful to register with your legal entity, which is very important when you use your email, which is not shown in this. Yeah, it can be shown in this welcome page. This is very important because the system is working with email address. So in the next slide, it summarizes the step of the creation of your project through the tool. There are different steps. So to create your project, to edit the project basics, which is more or less the summary of your project, etc. To create your consortium. So that's why we ask you to, at an early stage, to be able to invite partners, because they have to accept to be able to be part of your project. They can edit their details. You can add partner associate from the same company. Then each partner can edit the cost and the effort for funding. Then at the final stage, you have this final project version. So you have to upload the annex document that you have worked in parallel that I've just described. Then the system is merging automatically the data that you have entered in the system, in the project zone, with the data that you have already provided in the Word document. And before the deadline, it's always possible to resubmit a Word document and to merge again and again your proposal. So that's why we are asking you to do it as an early stage, to be able to check your version, to check the page limit, to correct the English, etc. Then the other slide, it's just some tips to help you clarifying how to access the tool. For example, in the Partners tab, it's really an active action of inviting partners. And it's what I just explained, that in the same company, you can also add several persons if you want to have several persons acting in the tool with the same organization. Then the next slide, which is, I think, more important, it's in this tool, you have what we call a project checklist. In this project checklist, when you submit your proposal, you have some items that they are mandatory at the stage of when you are submitting your proposal. For example, here it's focusing on the PO. And for example, the first exclamation mark here is that you are missing the PO annex that you have not uploaded, and you are not able to submit, because this is a mandatory point to be able to submit your proposal. So I would like really to underline the fact that you are paying attention on this checklist to be able to build on live your project until the deadline. Then at the next slide, it's how to finalize your submission. It's quite a few words of my conclusion of this presentation. So check that there is no blocking issue to be able to submit your project. Please make sure to use the resubmit functionality to really improve your proposal towards the final version until the deadline. And the deadline is a deadline, so we don't give any extra for any reason. The 25th of February 2022 is the deadline for the PO of the first call of XCCS. And we are here to help at any time, and the sooner you contact us, the sooner we can help you and guide you through have an effective submission of your proposal. Then to conclude, it was the last slide about the, I think it's not the other one, but the extra one about the benefits of, it's another way to show the benefits of participating to XCCS. And I think that it was very useful to have Jens today from direct conversion to really have a concrete example of an SME participating to a collaborative project. I think he has really summarized what we, the collaboration between partners and the fact to participate to such projects. So it's what it is underlined also here in this slide, the creation of new partnership to have a formation of high impact and direct access to European large companies that you, or research or SMEs that they don't belong to your country, and that they can help also your company to access skills that you don't have and access the leading edge technology. So, and the last slide, I remind you that we are the deadline, and after the latest, the last one, I think it's our contact from the team. Maybe, yes, the contact of the team that you can find back this presentation, and we will be more than pleased to help you and guide you through this first call of XCCS. And I thank you very much for your attention, and thank you, Frédéric, for mastering the slides.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Sherazad. And yes, very, very interesting part, a very important part. So these very clear guidelines. Thank you so much. That being said, is 11:26:27 about. I'd like to suggest that all presenters, including even direct conversion, show up maybe on the screen, and then Adela, when you see that the information for the checkout is being ready, somehow we could share the slide as well, see if this webinar has been meeting some of your expectations, so to say, at the end of it. So yeah, so I will make sure that I leave the presentation as well, so I can see you, which I haven't been able to during this webinar.
So Jens left Frédéric for some time ago, so he's not with us anymore. And I can share the Menti, but we are not so many, so you don't see that many answers there. So, but I think we can all agree that was a very good, well spent time, because we learn more with each other. I think it's very good to have you here, Sherazad, so that we can go through the process and the questions that we had in mind, so became clarified, at least I can say from my side. And there is a lot that we can do together. to support the organizations.
Yes, absolutely. And this webinar is being organized just after Christmas time as well. And I can imagine that many people are very busy to catch up and to start this new year, which hopefully will be a better year than last year related to the pandemic itself. So is there any question that can be asked live from the remaining participants? No, at first glance.
And we don't have any questions submitted in the chat either, but I would like to remind you all that are left here that please contact me or Torbjörn if you have any questions you think we can help you with, and we will also guide you as good as we can in filing your application and finding partners, of course.
I think we have some days left before the brokerage event, so if anyone needs help before the event or during the event, so there are now many persons that you can contact.
And also a reminder that the deadline for submitting pitches for the brokerage, if you have a project ID that you want to pitch, was on January 3rd, but there are still some few slots I heard. So it's still possible to make a video pitch to submit for the brokerage event next week. So if you hurry up, it's possible to still pitch at the brokerage event if you have a nice project ID.
Yes.
Yes, it's never too late, and I think we all learn about possibilities and trying to make it possible for everyone. So yes, thank you. It's very valuable, and we will share this the material out of this webinar, so you can visualize it. You can share it as well with any potential partners that you foresee for future collaborations. And of course, the presentation itself in PDF format will be shared. So that is also a possibility for you to make use of it in an efficient way whenever you see opportunity to collaborate with others. So thank you so much.
Okay.
So I would like now to say, have a very nice weekend. Enjoy it, and look forward to hearing from you very soon. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you to